What is sustainability? The easiest definition to remember is sustainability is living your life in such a way that it doesn't make the possibilities for people on a global level or in the future to also live a life. Which means that having a sustainable life means that your consumption is also possible for all the other people in the world. And this is something that talks about balance. And one way to reach that is with circularity, which means that in your life or on a bigger scale, the resources you buy are reused, preferably into something useful. For example, if you have food, you eat it, and the things you cannot eat, like the peels and stuff, you compost to grow new food. This is an example of circularity, because you keep a closed loop of resources in a circle. Circularity can also be used, sometimes I confuse myself with my English, but if there's questions you can always let me know in the comments. Circularity in textiles means that there is a loop in how we use textiles and all the resources associated to it. Now it's linear. We have fast fashion, for example. We produce, we buy, we use, we dump in the ocean, in the desert in Chile, in Ghana. We basically dump in poorer countries in the West, to say it like that. Circularity would mean that you buy an item, after wearing that item, the resources are repurposed somewhere in the system, so we don't need to use new resources. So, for example, you have cotton shirts, and when you cannot wear them anymore because there are holes in it or whatever, the cotton can be used to grow new cotton. That would be a closed loop. And the place where quilting comes in is that quilting is what stands in between wearing an item of clothing and recycling it or landfills. Because there's also a thing that's called the ladder of Lansing, which was a Dutch guy, and he made a waste hierarchy, which means that it basically states the preferred ways to deal with trash. I wouldn't discuss the whole thing with you, but it says that preventing waste, like by not needing to buy new clothes, is the best thing to do. Which means in a textile setting, that would mean buying good quality textiles that you can last for a long year. For example, you buy walking shoes once every 5 years, which prevent you buying them every year. So prevention is all about designing products well, buying for a long use, designing for a long use, but also not buying more than you need, because in your closet it's not necessarily preventing you from buying, because you still bought it and you're not using it. And then it's better to not have produced it. After that it comes, I think, repurpose, which means that, for example, if you cannot use the shoes anymore, you can give them to somebody else who can. And this comes before recycling, I think, which is that you use the shoes for something else. For example, the soles are broken, but you can use the lace for something new. Or your shirt is broken, but you can make a quilt out of it. It's not the original use, it's degrading in a way the materials, because you're using it in a different way, which takes energy, which means that you go a rung lower on the hierarchy. But still, it's turned into something valuable to use. This is called recycling, but it's also renamed upcycling, because recycling sort of suggests that a quilt, for example, out of old shirts is of lesser value, but sometimes upcycling means that it becomes more value. For example, if I take 20 fast fashion bad quality shirts and I turn them into a wonderful quilt, you could say that it's more value. So it's lower on the hierarchy of Lansing, because I'm using it for a different purpose, but it's upcycled. So that's how you can see it. And sustainable quilting is all about that. There are some other videos where I get more into how you can apply sustainability theories on all levels of quilting. I will talk about that later. I wanted to keep this video short. If you have any questions about sustainability or discussion,